Greece's incumbent Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis secures a convincing win in Sunday's general election.
G7 summit in Japan wraps up as leaders reaffirm their commitment to Ukraine and its people.
Greece looks set to be heading for new elections after Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis' New Democracy Party triumphed in Sunday's poll but failed to obtain an absolute majority.
Χωρίς αμφιβολία, ο πολιτικός σεισμός που εκδηλώθηκε σήμερα μας καλεί όλους να επιταχύνουμε την διαδικασία για οριστική κυβερνητική λύση στον τόπο, ώστε η πατρίδα μας να έχει το συντομότερο δυνατόν έμπειρο χέρι στο τιμόνι της.
Ο Κυριάκος Μητσοτάκης δεσμεύτηκε ότι θα ακολουθήσει τις επιταγές του συντάγματος. Μιλώντας όμως σε οπαδούς της Νέας Δημοκρατίας, ξεκαθάρισε τις προθέσεις του. Μίλησε για επόμενες εκλογές, είπε ότι ο αγώνας αρχίζει από αύριο κιόλας και είπε επίσης ότι η κάλπη αυτή θα επιβεβαιώσει και μαθηματικά αυτό που ήδη έδειξαν ότι θέλουν οι πολίτες. Δηλαδή μία ακόμα αυτοδύναμη κυβέρνηση της Νέας Δημοκρατίας.
Alexis Tsipras, the leader of the opposition Syriza party, admitted that its score on Sunday was extremely negative, but called on his supporters to mobilize for a possible second vote.
Ο εκλογικός κύκλος, ωστόσο, δεν έχει ακόμα τελειώσει, δεδομένου ότι κατά πάσα πιθανότητα θα υπάρξει δεύτερη εκλογική αναμέτρηση. Συνεπώς δεν έχουμε το περιθώριο του χρόνου. Πρέπει να κάνουμε άμεσα όλες τις αλλαγές που χρειάζονται, ώστε να δώσουμε με τους καλύτερους δυνατούς όρους την επόμενη κρίσιμη και τελική εκλογική μάχη.
Το εκλογικό αποτέλεσμα προκάλεσε σοκ στο κόμμα της αξιωματικής αντιπολίτευσης. Ο ΣΥΡΙΖΑ είδε τα ποσοστά του να καταραίουν και την πολιτική του πρόταση να απορρίπτεται από την κοινωνία. Εφόσον σε λίγες εβδομάδες οδηγηθούμε σε δεύτερες εκλογές, το ερώτημα είναι τι μπορεί το κόμμα να πει, να προτείνει, ώστε να επαναδιεκδικήσει την εμπιστοσύνη των πολιτών.
The PASOK party performed above expectations. The Communist Party and the right-wing Hellenic Solution Party also qualified for the new parliament.
Russian state TV has officially claimed that Wagner mercenaries, with the support of Russian troops, have seized the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. It showed a video of Russian soldiers celebrating. However, Ukrainian military officials have rejected the claims, saying their soldiers were still fighting in Bakhmut. The 8-month battle for Bakhmut has been the longest and probably most bloody of the conflict in Ukraine, and it isn't clear which side has paid a higher price. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has left the G7 summit in the Japanese city of Hiroshima after securing unwavering support and more ammunition and weapons from 7 of the world's richest democracies.
Сьогодні, в неділю, тут, в Хіросімі, Україна була дійсно почесним учасником роботи Великої Сімки. Українська тематика центральна, шана до всіх українців, особливо дякую Сімці.
The pledges of support are key to the delayed Ukrainian spring offensive. And a US agreement to allow its Western allies to supply Ukraine with advanced fighter jets, including American-made F-16s, is vital, but as yet no country has committed to supplying the jets to Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky huddled with some of his biggest backers here in Hiroshima. The Ukrainian leader's in-person appearance underscoring the centrality of the war for the G7 bloc of rich democracies. He saw US President Joe Biden announce new military aid and lay the groundwork for the eventual transfer of American-made fighter jets to Ukraine. On the sidelines of the summit, Zelensky met with Indian Prime Minister Modi, their first face-to-face talk since the war. India is a major buyer of Russian arms and oil and has avoided outright condemnation of Russia's invasion. India and Brazil have remained non-aligned in the war. That does not appear to have changed, and there wasn't even a meeting here with Brazilian President Lula da Silva. Zelensky's presence here somewhat stole some of the limelight from other priorities, including security challenges in Asia and outreach to the developing world. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida had wanted nuclear disarmament to be a major focus of discussions. He twice took leaders to visit the Peace Park here, dedicated to the tens of thousands who died in the world's first wartime atomic bomb detonation. Some survivors of the US attack in 1945 worried that Zelensky's inclusion at the summit had overshadowed that priority. Philip Crowther, Euronews, Hiroshima.
Some 75,000 people gathered in Moldova's capital on Sunday to demand European Union membership for their country. Participants waved EU flags and chanted pro-European slogans as they were welcomed by European Parliament President Roberta Metsola.
In the European Parliament, we recognize the great efforts your country has made to implement the European Commission's 9 steps for reform and to align itself with the EU acquis. Moldova is already ready for deeper integration in the EU single market.
The rally comes as Moldova's membership bid has been accelerated by the war in Ukraine. The country has often been at the center of a struggle between Moscow and the West. And in recent years, it has accused Russia of trying to sabotage its attempts to integrate into the bloc. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has visited flooded homes in northeastern Italy on Sunday after returning early from the G7 summit in Japan. Flooding has left 14 people dead, while 36,000 were displaced by the incessant rain in Emilia-Romagna earlier this week. Some 10,000 have since been able to return home. Meloni told reporters that speaking to those who had lost everything was a moving experience. Volunteers are working to remove water still invading homes, while bulldozers repair a railway bridge damaged in the floods, which have been described as the worst the country has seen in a century. Violent downpours transformed streets in cities and towns across the northeast of Italy into rivers.
The exceptional wave of rainfall that's been hitting Europe isn't going to mitigate the impact of a potentially dry summer across the continent, say experts. In recent weeks, flash floods struck several countries, including Croatia, Serbia and Italy. But experts say the significant amount of water that's fallen most likely won't make the soil any more fertile.
One of the challenges, though, with rainfall, particularly very intensive rainfall, after a long period of drought, is often that rain or water recharge, doesn't actually go where it needs to go, because in a drought situation, there's no soil moisture left in the top surface, so the ground is very hard. And this means when the ground is very hard, that instead of the rain soaking in and recharging water levels and reservoirs and rivers, it just runs straight off the land surface and leads to these catastrophic flooding events.
Experts also point out that over the past decade, droughts have become established over a shorter timescale.
A newer concept that's been around for maybe a decade or so is flash droughts, which start much more rapidly, and that's why they have perhaps bigger impacts, at least in the short term. And they evolve rapidly because there are sudden deficits in rainfall, in precipitation, but also they're often accompanied by high temperatures.
Although it's still hard to predict how dry this summer will be, there are already simple steps we can all take to use less water.
This means adapting our behaviour in homes, washing less, turning off brushes, turning off taps, shorter showers, but it also means, choosing foods and choosing crops that use less water or need less water to survive in the European temperatures that we're now facing.
Europe is present every year at Cannes, and it was Thierry Breton, the European Commissioner for the Internal Market, who came to the Palais des Festivals to present the results of the Commission's action and to unveil its media outlook.
J'ai présenté le média Outlook, c'est-à-dire en fait un travail très approfondi qui a été fait par nos services, évidemment avec l'ensemble de la profession, pour voir les grandes tendances. Alors, les grandes tendances, on les connaît, puis en tirer les conclusions. C'est évidemment l'émergence des plateformes, comment on se positionne par rapport aux plateformes. C'est évidemment la protection des droits intellectuels, qui est tellement important pour nous en Europe. Et croyez-moi, on y veille évidemment en Europe. C'est le financement. Donc comment accroître encore plus le financement? On fait déjà beaucoup. Et on a l'intention de continuer, évidemment.
14 films supported by the program are present in Cannes, and 4 are competing for the Palme d'Or, including Kidnapped by the Italian master Marco Bellocchio, which tells the true story of a Jewish child forcibly baptized by the Pope in the 19th century.
Nous sommes un État de droit, nous avons des valeurs, nous les partageons, c'est notre bien commun en Europe. Et c'est vrai que dans ce contexte, les industries du monde audiovisuel, au sens large, jouent un rôle absolument essentiel en Europe. On se le rappelle tous les jours du reste, du rôle essentiel qui est de protéger notre patrimoine intellectuel, j'allais dire, y compris à un moment où la guerre frappe notre continent en Ukraine.
3 other films in competition are directed by women. 4 Daughters, Club Zero, and La Chimera, a story of archaeology, secrets, and Etruscan antiquities theft.
La Commission européenne prend donc en compte que le cinéma est un art et une industrie, en finançant de nombreuses coproductions européennes et en accompagnant les films jusque dans les plus grands festivals du monde. Il s'agit pour l'Europe de répondre à un marché extrêmement concurrentiel et en permanente mutation, tout en affirmant ses valeurs culturelles et artistiques, ainsi que son savoir-faire industriel et technologique. Au marché international du film, dans le palais des festivals de Cannes, Frédéric Ponsard,